fourth paragraph down, he states, I decline to note, sorry, I'll read the full paragraph and we'll get it right. I was invited to the BRV meeting at Western Hall, but after consideration of the conditions imposed, of no participation in the meeting and consultation. Afterwards, with no control by the chairman, I decline. I note that Councillors Smith, Morgan and Guttridge are members of BRV. Mr Mayor, I am not a member of BRV. I live outside Orchidland. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Guttridge, we can take that out, it's not a problem. Councillor Evans, do you have anything to say on that?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. With regards to page 34 of the minutes, members may recall that Councillor Golby moved a motion following the question from Councillor Hancock with regards to block paving in Bedford Town Centre. Now, that motion actually received a recorded vote. The recorded vote is not included in the minutes on page 34. So I would like to question the accuracy of the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 18th of February, and if members of the Labour Group would like to contest that, I'm happy to put it to a vote of full council.
Okay, Councillor Evans, we'll check back on that and amend as necessary. Okay? No, we'll go back and check that it was recorded, and then and if that's the case, then we'll amend that in minutes. Is that okay? Right, is there anything else on that? Okay then, so with them amendments, I'm okay to sign it. Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, okay then, so moving on to the January minutes. Is everybody okay if I sign them as a correct? Councillor Evans?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. On pages 13, 14, 15 and 16 there are 4 recorded votes within the extraordinary meeting. Councillor Llewellyn Nash did attend that meeting, but her name is not recorded in the votes. I've gone on the video and she definitely does take part in all 4 votes. So that is not accurate. In addition, Mr Mayor, on page 14, you may recall that you actually moved a motion, a procedural motion, Mr Mayor, to stop Councillor Condacor from speaking in this meeting. The minutes say that the procedural motion was lost. My recollection, Mr Mayor, is that the vote that you requested was not accurate because you only allowed those members who wanted to vote for the motion to put their hands up. You didn't actually ask against and abstentions. So I struggled to understand how the procedural motion was lost if we didn't actually go to a proper vote. And again, you can clarify that in the minutes of the meeting, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Evans, I honestly cannot remember that far, so we'll have to check that and amend as necessary. Okay, is that okay? I honestly cannot remember that far. So apart from them, is everything okay? Okay, thank you. Interests, is everybody okay with the interests that are down? Or would anybody like anything else added? No, okay. Announcements, I have a few. First of all, this Friday, Good Friday, is my parachute jump for the Mayor's charity. If anybody would like to sponsor me, it's online or there is a sponsor form in with Lindsay's office, and any sponsors would be obviously appreciated. 3rd of May, we're having a 2-course meal, 2 live bands out at the Lord Nelson again for the Mayor's charity. And then on the 10th of May, you'll be pleased to know that will be my last charity do, and that will be at the Civic Hall. So if you would like to attend that, the tickets are £10. So any support to that would obviously be appreciated. So that's all my announcements, and there's no announcements of Cabinet. So Moving on to public participation now. Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry. Councillor Grant, you would like to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to make the following statement by way of an apology to Councillors Julie Jackson and Ian Lloyd. On 5th September 2018, I attended a meeting of Cabinet which was considering a report in connection with the Borough Plan. At that meeting, I made a number of comments questioning Councillor Jackson's integrity, and I subsequently refused to retract them despite being asked to do so. I acknowledge that I made inappropriate comments to Councillor Jackson, which I deeply regret, and I would place on record my sincere apology for any upset or hurt caused. Similarly, a little later on in the same meeting, I made a personal comment directed at Councillor Lloyd. I deeply regret making that comment and would place on record my sincere apology for any upset or hurt caused. I fully acknowledge that my name calling and constant interruptions at that meeting were against the Code of Conduct, and I wish to reiterate my unequivocal apology to both councillors for any upset or hurt that my conduct caused on that occasion.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Much appreciated. Right, moving on to public participation. We have one question from Michelle Coppercorn.
Thank you. In October 2018, the recycling contract was changed. Most people in the borough will be unaware of this. However, as a result, some items that were previously not collected by the borough's curbside collection are now able to be collected. I only became aware of the changes to what could be collected as a result of looking at the paperwork and attending the internal overview scrutiny panel in January. I asked for further clarification from the head of waste and was advised by email that the information on the website would be amended the following week, i.e. at the end of January. The council website still has not been correctly updated, so even if people look up recycling, they are not being correctly informed. Most people do want to do their bit and do recycle. Could the portfolio holder explain why the public have not been informed of the changes to what is now collectible at curbside? This would help to increase the amount recycled, which can only be good for our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Coppercorn. Councillor Shepherd, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mrs. Confield, thank you very much for your question. I can confirm that the user guide is with our communications team, waiting to be updated with the information sent from our waste and transport team. The user guide is the information we link to the website to keep information consistent. Unfortunately, this update has taken a little longer than we planned, and we are working to get the information update completed as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Right, now I have a number of questions by members, so I won't be allowing any supplementary questions because I'd like to try and get through the questions, but obviously if we don't get through the questions, you will be supplied with answers to any questions that have been submitted within a week's time. So now I would like to invite Councillor Evans to ask his question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to put on record my appreciation to the Friends of the Nook in Bedworth for the work they have done over recent years on the Nook. One of the concerns within the group is the accessibility of the site. Members may be aware that the Woodlands is a floodplain, and when the area does flood, it prevents people with disabilities from being able to walk the full circuit of the Nook. The group believes the issue could be solved if the height of the paths on the site could be increased. Obviously, the council has to comply with the Disabilities Discrimination Act. Could I ask the portfolio holder, whoever will answer the question in his absence, to request that the Parks Department work with the Friends of the Nook to look into the feasibility of raising the height of the paths as a matter of urgency?
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Jackson, are you replying on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the answer is yes.
Supplementary question, Mr. Mayor?
Sorry, I've already said there's been no supplementaries. I want to try and get through the questions. So, moving on with the next question, I'd like to invite Councillor Rudkin to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Cabinet Member for Housing, Health and Communities advise Council how the grant monies for homelessness recently received will be used? Thank you.
Councillor Brown, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your question, Michaela. The Council has been working with the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government for some time, and at the end of March we were awarded £150,000. This money is to allow the Council to contract a specialist support provider to work in partnership with ourselves and other statutory and third sector partners to provide intensive individual support for those who are or at risk of rough sleeping. This cohort of people often find it difficult to access existing services. This support will be provided from a designated hostel and will deal with a wide range of complex issues such as mental health and well-being, as well as treatment for addictions and to provide skills and training to access employment. This funding will allow us to assist 5 to 6 individuals from a hostel setting, along with a further 4 or 5 individuals who may be able to be temporarily accommodated elsewhere. This funding is currently only for a 12-month period, however. It will allow the Council to provide personalised, intensive support to enable a move on to independent accommodation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. I'd like to invite Councillor Elliott to ask her question, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Can the leader advise how much money has been raised this year by the Borough Lottery and how many good causes are benefiting, please?
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Jackson, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I begin by thanking Councillor Elliott for the question? So far, we have 72 registered good causes through the lottery, and we have received for them about £28,988, a testament to the generosity of our borough and the endeavours of our local groups. We will be celebrating the Borough Lottery's first birthday this month, and you may have already seen our recently created mascot, which we hope the people of the borough will help us to name. Our currently nameless mascot is on view this evening in front of the Mayor, and I place on my thanks to Relax and Knit, who created it for us. The Borough Lottery came about as a result of staff's suggestions, and I am really pleased that it is successful in securing benefit to so many good causes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I would like to invite Councillor Glass to ask his question. Yeah, sorry. Councillor Hancock, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Section 21 of the 1988 Housing Act allows landlords to evict tenants without providing any reason. Could I ask the Leader of the Council what actions we, as Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, can take to urge the Government to abolish Section 21 of the 1988 Housing Act? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. Councillor Jackson?
Councillor Beaumont, with respect.
Yeah, Councillor Beaumont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hancock, for your question. A Section 21 notice is contained within the Housing Act 1988 and is used for assured short-hold tenancies in the private rented sector. Often referred to as no-fault notices, they allow a landlord to seek possession of the home without the requirement to prove fault on part of the tenant. The notice is a prescribed format and should give at least 2 months' notice. It cannot be served earlier than 4 months into the start of the tenancy. Should the tenant fail to vacate the premises by the date contained within the S21 notice, the landlord can apply for an accelerated possession order. As there is no requirement to prove fault, as long as the judge is satisfied that the notice has been served correctly, possession will be granted without the need to attend court and therefore be required to await a court date, which can be some months in the future. Historically, there has been significant criticism of the use of this mechanism as it began to be used to remove tenants who complained about the condition of their home, thus dubbing them retaliatory evictions. A campaign was undertaken a number of years ago to abolish S21 notices. As a result, the Retaliatory Eviction and Deregulation Act 2015 came into force in October 2015 and amended the Housing Act 1988. This Act provides that where a tenant makes a legitimate complaint about the condition of the property and where the legitimacy of the complaint has been verified by the local authority, the landlord cannot use an S21 procedure for 6 months. This council always carries out checks to ensure the landlord has followed correct procedure where any customer approaches us requiring assistance following receipt of this notice. This council has also successfully prosecuted for illegal evictions. Bodies representing private landlords argue that the removal of the no-fault notice would be detrimental to those private landlords who do abide by legislation but who may need to repossess their home, either for arrears or because their circumstances have changed and they need to sell the property. They further argue that the removal of this mechanism would lead to many single property landlords to sell their properties and thus reduce the amount of rental stock available. The council can place homeless households in private rented accommodation in order to discharge its homelessness duties. Over the weekend, the government has announced plans to consult on Section 21 evictions in England. This council welcomes plans for a full consultation and will ensure a comprehensive response is submitted. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beaumont. Councillor Phillips.
In light of the answer from the Cabinet Member for Housing, Health and Communities, I request to speak on this matter and request to move a motion in connection with the response under consideration and, if seconded, speak on them. The motion is that this council, in responding to the recently announced government consultation, states its complete opposition to so-called no-fault notices, Section 21, which gives little security to those in rented accommodation. I don't know if I have a seconder.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Is that one seconder?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor, and is everyone right to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. Okay, has everybody had time to have a quick read of that? Councillor Concord, you had time to read it?
Yes, thank you.
Right, okay. Councillor Golby, would you like to indicate who you'd like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd actually like to make an amendment to the motion. This is in addition to what is set out in front of us by Councillor Phillips, not instead of, it's as well as. So to add the words that this council requests the leader of the council writes to James Brokenshire MP, Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government, to thank him for his announcement on the 15th of April 2019 that government will consult to ban Section 21 notices known as no-fault evictions and that this council responds to the recent consultation as announced by the Secretary of State.
Right, thank you, Councillor Godby. Have you got that wrote out ready to, can we all have copies of that then, please? But, does that find a seconder?
I'll second that and reserve my right to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Right, so we'll have to take a few minutes to get that copied and distributed so we can read it and take it in and digest it. So, talk amongst yourselves.
Point of order.
Point of order. So tell me what point of order it
It
is.
is to clarify whether this is a suspension and the time therefore stops on the 45 minutes, or whether this is including the question time. Are we doing suspension? All right.
Yeah, we'll stop the time, it's suspension, but we're not leaving the chamber. Councillor Concourt, you said point of order.
It was exactly the same point of order, thank you.